What's up, family? This is your man, not your boy. Go Black to Africa. Peace and blessings to each and every one of you all as you all come in. I am here in Brazil, Sao Paulo to be exact. I just noticed my background. I got the woman's lips back here. I'm at a cafe, chilling, and the I want to do this video because I think it's very important for us to kind of see uh, this whole talk about Igbo, talk about children of Israel, talk about a Jew, talk about an Israelite, talk about a Hebrew. I've got all my documents. I've got all my research. I've stepped into 34 African countries. I've been to Israel. I have come over here to Brazil to even get another piece of the story. So I'm here in Brazil, just hearing from those who are in Sao Paulo. Don't know if I'm gonna make it to Salvador, y'all. You know, I operate off of a spirit of discerning, and I try to get to Salvador. I made 3 different attempts. I went through booking.com to Just Fly, and then I went to their local airlines to get a ticket to go to Salvador. I could not get it through booking.com. They were asking me for a question that asking me for a document that I don't have, which is a CPF that you have to be a Brazilian to have. The Just Fly app was asking me they was asking me not for a document. No, Just Fly was trying. I was trying to send my credit card through, and they would not let me get past of charging it. I went through their local airlines that I can go just through their local airlines, and they would not process it. Now, for me, I'm 58 years old. I've learned one thing over the years that I believe the Most High have shown me. No, that I know the Most High have shown me. You know, many people say they hear voices from God and stuff. I understand to discern things in a different way. When I've learned, never force anything. Never try to push and force yourself into anything. If the door does not open, let it be. Move on. Because at that moment in time, it is not for you to be going exploring into behind that door, because you never know what is behind there. So it'll be another day, just like I shared with y'all, trying to get into Cameroon and went through all of this daggone headaches trying to get there, and it just would not happen. So I want to share this video with you all. Let me get back on track. Just had to put that out there. Maybe that'll help somebody. Greetings to each and every one of you all as I see you all come in. Peace and blessings to you, Angela Altman, to Nirma Samuels, Big King Travel, Only the Real Battle League, Yankee Boy, James Foster. The names go on and on. If I miss you all, hey, it's not intentional. I want y'all to see something in this video where this people from Israel, this rabbi came down, of course, trying to check the validity of the ancient Israelites, as they would call themselves, the Igbo people. Now, I know I ain't getting caught in no tongue wrestling matches, and I'm not going to put rocks all. I'm not going to have rocks in my jaws of frustration because of the fact that, you know, there are those who want to try to look and see, are you an original? Are you authentic? Are you organic? You know, that has been since the beginning of time, and I'm getting to a place now where I'm tired of even the black talk. And that's just being real with y'all. 58 years old, tired of it. You know, this is something that was been a plot, a scheme to really be a stumbling block for us. I mean, you know, we've been called Negroes and Moors and black, and you know, we've been called Berbers. We've been called all kind of names for black land and black face and, you know, dark or whatever. All of these things that I think that has nothing really to do with knowing really who you are. I find right now at this point in time of my journey, we are doing a lot of uh, fighting and to position ourselves rightfully where we should be. But who are we trying to prove? Who are we trying to prove? Prove to who? Those who are supposed to be the authors, those who are supposed to be the ones who's running around talking about, oh, we're going to measure you, we're going to test you, we're going to see you based upon what we think. Really? I don't owe anybody an explanation. I don't need to defend nor try to validate who I am. I know I am the spirit of the Most High. I know it off the bat. I know we have people out here who are trying to say, Jesus is black. I know we are saying, Jesus, we are the original. We are the. I get all that, but at the end of the day, that don't mean a hell of a beans if you haven't taken on the spirit of the Most High to get you out of the mess that you are in. You can sit here all day long and talk about Hebrew and Israel and being a Jew and all these things, but that don't get you nowhere. I'm going to tell you, brothers and sisters, for those who have an ear to hear, I got myself out of the muck, the myrrh, the clay, the garbage, the gutter, when I subscribe to something greater than myself. Now, this is not a moment of preaching. This is a moment of sharing with you that my truth was that I either change my spirit of how I am and go in a different light, or I stay right where I am. Now, I had to come to understand that my life where I lived, I was living my life based upon my environment, who I thought I was. I told y'all, I got the revelation that I am not a black man, according to what they say being a black man. First and foremost, I know everything is predicated upon a spirit. If a man treats you well and treats you with respect, that goes further than what the color of your skin is. You know that, and I know that. A brother curse you out, a brother with black skin could curse you out, mistreat you, use and abuse you, murder you, maim, and whatever, and you will detest him. A white man can come over and say, how are you doing? Maybe lend you an assistance, maybe give you, and you will say, that was kind. Let's do that vice versa. A white person could be the Karen, the Ken, who disrespects you, go around the world, enslave people, murder, maim, pillage, rape, rob, and yet you would sit there and say that was the most detestable thing in the world. But then a brother can extend an olive branch, and yet you would receive that with love because you discerned that that was the most kindest heart and spirit that you could receive. So now we understand that the heart of the matter is all predicated upon the spirit of a man. I want to get into this video because the rabbi came into Igbo land, and y'all know I just did videos of Igbo people coming into them, questioning and or trying to trying to refute or rebuke, or trying to show whether or not they are part of. And in that, I see there is a lessons learned, because I know we are a people who are fighting for identity, being right here in Brazil at this moment in time. I see the people who are mixed with black, if you will, mixed with African descent, descendants of Africans, and mixed. And it's to my amazement that the stories that I've heard of how one could be treated just like you would be treated in America, here in Brazil. And a lot of these people have African descent in their families, but it is an embarrassment to them. And many will not admit that they have African descent in them. When I say African, I'm not talking about Africans like just I'm only using that word as a generic or a general name, just to give you a point, pointing to the area of the continent where they have said, scientists, archaeologists, and all of them have said, where man have started. Melanated people, if you will. So let me get into this video, because this rabbi goes into it, And he is asking these questions. Now, hats off to the Igbo people for sharing their history. But there is some ignorance, even in their thought process, of would believe that because a rabbi is stating that they are the so-called original, and that this is what he is inferring, or this is what he is trying to under the table say, that, you know, we're the ones who make the decisions of whether or not you're going to be Israelites or Jews, or you're part of the family, and we're going to be the judge of that. The Igbo people are ignorant because they will believe that because the Western world had created them to be Israel in 1948, that everything else is supposed to stem off of them. And the Igbo people, you're going to hear them he gives them an offer. Would y'all come? If Israel opened the doors up, would y'all come? And you'll be amazed of what the response is. Let's get into it. All right. Okay. Okay, so let's get into this right here, but I want to start at this point here. Now, I want you all to remove your emotions, because I'm not mad at this rabbi. I'm not mad at any of these folks. The question of it is that if you don't, I've said it to my kids for many of years, because I heard in my spirit, if you don't know who you are, other people will tell you. Other people will tell you. Let's get into this. This is a long video, but I'm not going to go through this whole entire video. I'm going to hit certain points in this video. Okay, he's going to ask them a question of, do y'all know who you are? Let me mute my mics.
We are blessed people. How many people, I'm curious, in this room, growing up, not revelation from God, but growing up, knew that there are connection descendants to the children of Israel? I'm curious. How many? How many really truly knew that? It's pretty much 99% of it.
The entire Igbo race know that we are Jews. We are no longer speculating.
So,
we'll be giving,
throw at me. This is so fascinating.
All right.
Throw at me a couple of other Jewish traditions. Some things that I would like to chew my teeth on.
All right. Thank you so much. You see, I have here over 100 reasons to prove that Igbos are Israelites from the scriptures, from the Torah. And one of them is circumcision. We have already talked about it, circumcising on the 8th day. And another one that follows is the morning of the day.
Morning. When a person, so let me ask you a question. This is very important.
Yes.
When a person dies,
yes,
what do you do in the Igbo tradition?
In the Igbo tradition,
in Judaism, you have what's called the Shiva and the 30.
Yes.
Do you have anything?
We do something. It is very clear in our tradition. Before the coming of the white man, the moment an Igbo person dies, he is buried between 24 hours to 48 hours.
That's a Jewish law.
Yes.
That's a clear Jewish law.
And even our old men will even give it instruction, even in this present time.
Wow.
It should not be taken to mortuary.
Tell me, when you bury a person, I have a question, you might know the answer.
Yeah.
When you bury a Igbo person, do you put him in a casket, or do you wrap him in something? Interesting.
Before this present time, we don't put people in caskets.
That's
We
good.
wrap them.
That's why I'm
It is
asking.
the white man that brought caskets and issue here.
That's amazing. You
Yes.
see, because in
We
Judaism,
bury people with what we call opa. It is opa that we use in those days. It's a kind of what we call it, a basket.
okay,
Where we wrap the person
but
and
it
put
was
there.
not a casket.
No, it was not a casket. at all.
Interesting, very interesting.
Yes.
Fascinating. Give us a couple of more.
All right.
So do you put 24, 48 hours?
Yes.
That's the tradition. That's Judaism.
All
That's
right.
one of the big Jewish laws. So
All right. So the moment somebody dies, within 48 hours is buried. And you have to give up to 48 hours in case their descendants or it's close relations who are far away, they can be given information to come and see the man the last time, I pay him the last respect.
wow.
Now, so when we bury, the moment we bury, we begin to count. And then the counting, there are the
How
first
much?
there are the first preliminary ceremony that we do that could last for 7 days.
It's
The first preliminary.
7 days.
Yes. Then after the 7 days, we have the one we call it Izuasa.
That's
which is the
that's
full
called
1
in
month.
Hebrew Shiva.
Yes. The one we have the full 1 month. Because
And that's a third.
we work with a lunar calendar.
Yeah,
So
that
that is when we consummated, and the woman now have to mourn the husband for the next exactly 12 months.
that's a very clear
That's exactly that.
very clear Jewish tradition.
All
Very, very clear. Anything else you have for
All
us?
right. Now in Igbo, concerning the dead, we do not bury our own people outside the land, no matter wherever they die.
Wait. Tell me that this is important. Explain this again.
What we are saying is
Hold on.
Yes, some years back, I was in Kaduna. Kaduna is in northern Nigeria.
Okay.
So we lost a little baby and took her to the general public, cemetery.
Wait, I want to ask. This is a very important. Is the Igbo people have their own cemeteries, or they mixed in with other people when they bury?
we don't have we don't have a place. Listen to me. In Igbo land, we don't have a place because cemetery where people like other people do. But what we have is that if anybody dies, he has a compound. Like this person has a very large compound. If it's a man, it must be buried in front of his compound. If it's a woman, at the backyard, depending on the age. So we don't have cemetery, a particular place we call cemetery, where we bury everybody. No. It must be buried.
An Igbo man who dies in Lagos is brought
back to
Igbo
his
land
own
for
place.
burial.
Oh wow!
If he dies in America, they bring him down here and bury him.
You're
here.
kidding me?
We
Yeah.
don't bury him in Igbo man.
So, and wherever a man is buried, it becomes what we call it. It's an authentic property of that man and his descendants. That is to say, like the cave of Machpelah, where Abraham had to go.
So, I wanted to, I'm going to share some other bits of this right here. Basically, I let that run a little bit because of the fact that to show you all that even in the Igbo tradition, that here this rabbi is trying to find out, are there similarities? And yet he's wanting to take the position that even if it's, if it doesn't jive up to or measure to their par, then of course you can't be Israelite. But to his amazement, they do the same things. Now, we know that because of the religion Judaism, many of them have taken on that and now call themselves Jews. You notice that the Igbo people won't refer to themselves as Jews. They refer to themselves as Israelites. And I'm going to get into this part here because here again, we do a job of trying to always explain, defend, prove who we are. And rightfully so in some aspects, because if the world has accepted a nation of people to be the chosen and who are receiving billions of dollars, I can understand why there are those who are wanting to reap some of those benefits. I get it. We know that the Ethiopian, they call them beta Jews, but we know that the Ethiopians, one of the oldest history or historical people who exist to this day, in the 80s, were going through persecution by some of the surrounding African tribes that reached out to Israel saying, if this land is supposed to be for Jews, then we also want to partake in that, getting out of this persecution that we have endured. Now, let me share something with you all also about the Igbo people. The Igbo people in Nigeria will tell you right now, they are being persecuted by other tribes in Israel. Many of you all do not know that, let me take this. Many of you all do not know, make sure y'all hear me here too, that in the 70s, there was the Nigerian War. And the Nigerian War was against the Nigerian government against the Igbo people. The Igbo people wanted to have their separate state. They wanted to have their own land, and yet Nigerian government refused them. And in refusing that, it created a war. In that war, over 1 million something people died from the Igbo people. Now, that story is little known to many of us because, of course, that's back in the 70s. And back then, you had some of the Western countries who were taking sides of whether or not they should support Igbo people or support Nigerian government. Now, they say that the United States didn't really take sides, but you had those who were supporting the Igbo people in the efforts, whether you want to say Russia, even believe it or not, the French were supplying the Igbo people with their wanting to be independent, have their own state, their own government and all. I left there a couple weeks ago, and the Igbo people shared with me that they still are being persecuted, overlooked, have no voice in the government, and there's never been any Igbo man who has been in the government in Nigeria, and yet they're constantly being pressured, not getting the services, whether it is proper electricity or plumbing or money into their province or their regions, or they're shunned, basically, is what I was told. So let me show you all this right here. Let me share with y'all this right here. I got this right here so that just to educate you all, because this is about where the people in Israel talk about they've been persecuted all their lives. But what we don't talk about is the very people who say they are Israelites who are being persecuted by African tribes in Africa. And it correlates, or it actually, when I interviewed, Bishop Nathaniel, who goes through, who's with the IUIC, the Israelites United in Christ, was like, look, you give all this prophecy, but you talk nothing about the what's going on in Africa. Because Africa, if one's going to admit, as he does, that Jesus was black, Jesus was in Africa, he showed, of course, he did show those different regions of Africa that's mentioned scripturally, but he doesn't go into the warring that's going on, that I believe that the names in the Bible have been switched, the nations have been switched, and yet does not reference the African tribes of Israel or the children of Israel who are going through persecution by the very wars that are filling prophecy. And you had the Igbo people who was warring against the Nigerians and persecuted because they said, we ain't y'all. We are total different people, the children of Israel. And they warred against them and killed millions. And so they don't talk about the Ethiopians who were persecuted, the Limba people who are persecuted by surrounding African tribes. Now, how interesting is that then? That if you have a people who have been set apart, who say, we follow a spiritual entity, I had a conversation from Nigerian who's Yoruba. He said, man, we believe in the spiritual. Before the Europeans came in, we knew who the Most High was. And they are also known to be part of the Niger, Congo language speaking people of the children of Israel, or they would say the Bantu people, but it's the Niger Congo. So let me show you this right here. Let me show you this right here. Right here is let me do a tab. Let me do the tab. Right here is just a, let's see here, Wikipedia of showing that war I was talking about. Do yourself a favor, because this is not, y'all got to understand, when the Europeans came into Africa, we are not all alike. We know there are different African tribes, but when the Europeans noted and knew by the maps that are shown, hold up, there are people here that are not per se like African. This is why you will see, and I'm going to go show you some maps of why they will call Negro land, and then they point out different Jew sites. Here is tells about the Nigerian War, but this battle of the Igbo people wanting to be independent from Nigeria. Okay. Let me also show you something quite interesting, that it was called the Nigerian War, or the Biafra War. And it was it was from 67 to 70. And of course, the Igbo people lost. They lost that war. But let me show you something. Let me show y'all something. Y'all stay with me on this. During that war, I'm going to show you this letter. Okay. During this war, we have Henry Kissinger. You see the White House, and this was dated Tuesday, January 28th, 1967. Now, I've known about this, and I've mentioned about this to you all several times in some videos about how these people, what these people were referred to as. And what's interesting is that Kissinger and the president at the time, who happened to be, I think it was Lyndon B. Johnson, had made reference, because this letter he is sending a memorandum for the president. And in here, if you look here on page 2 of this right here, it makes mention. Let me find where it is at. It makes mention that it mentions about them being the wandering Jews. Now, I found something quite interesting in that. What I found, hold on, let me read here real quick. No, just trying to stand up. The Western U rulers, one third of the coalitions are starting on listening taxes, ridership. Okay, here we go. I was on the wrong page. What I found interesting, you all, is that in this letter, hey, nabbit. Bear with me right here. Okay, here we go, right here. Let me try to, what you're going to see, it says the Biafra. Colonel Ojukwu, he was the general or the leader of the Igbo people during that time. British trained They call him an erstwhile playboy. He presides over the popular support and military morale of a people convinced that defeat means extinction. The Igbos are the wandering Jews of West Africa, gifted, aggressive, westernized, at best envied and resented, but mostly despised by the mass of their neighbors in the Federation. They have fought well by African standards against heavy odds. Their cynical public relations use of the starvation has been brilliant. Now, let me come back to you all. Y'all have to bear with me on this because we're talking about the bits and pieces. I call it the piece of the puzzle. We have to understand something, that even in this memorandum that Henry Kissinger, right, the Secretary of Defense, I think he was sending a memo to the president. And he made mention that these were the wandering Jews. Now, all this time, I knew about this letter. For 3 or 4 years, I knew about this letter. And lo and behold, I picked up something. What is a wandering Jew? Family, it rocked me to the core. I just found this out 2 weeks ago when I was researching. And let me show y'all. Because my piece of my puzzle, I was doing something. And I've stumbled across something very interesting. And what I found was this. If it comes up. That when I went to Igbo land, and I don't even know if they know, they got a story that in Georgia, there is a celebration that goes on each year. And there was ships that were bringing a portion of the Igbo people and other Africans, if you will, tribes of the children of Israel over into the central islands, and then finding its way over into Georgia to drop off slaves. What I found out was that there is a slave ship that was called the Wandering Jews. If I had a bomb, I would go, the Wandering Jews. And I said, what? What is this? What is this? So let me pull this up. Let me pull this up. It was called The Wanderer. Okay. Now let me share my screen with you. Let me share my screen with you. Hold on, y'all. You got to stay with me because this is the bits and pieces of the puzzle. That why would he say that Henry Kissinger and the president would refer to the Igbo people as the wandering Jews? Now, there is a definition of the wandering Jews, that they wandered and migrated across Africa. The Europeans who were in Israel say that they were wandering. They never wandered. They never wandered. They were rooted and housed in Russia, Poland, Germany, over in some of the what we call the like Turkish areas and all that right there. But let me share my screen with you. That's the tab. Okay. So we have here The Wanderer was the last ship to bring enslaved people from Africa to Georgia and one of the last ships to smuggle bondsmen to American soil. On November 28, 1858, the Wanderer arrives at Jekyll Island, where its crew smuggled ashore 409 Western African captives. The incident is especially noteworthy because the Federal Slave Importation Act, passed in 1807, had officially banned the foreign importation of enslaved people into the United States. News of the Wanderer and its cargo quickly spread across the country and contributed to the sectional tension between North and the South that would soon lead to secession and the Civil War. Now, you can read this for yourself, but this is what I found. Let me stop sharing. Why would he call them the wandering Jews? Let me go to this. One second, bear with me, y'all. Because there's another connotation of the wandering Jews that supposedly these Europeans wandered over to America. One second here. Let me get out of that. They wandered over in Europe. Okay, let me share this and see what they say. Bear with me, y'all. Bear with me. Now, this is a Wikipedia. The wandering Jew is a mythical, immortal man whose legend began to spread in Europe in the 13th century. In an original legend, a Jew who taunted Jesus on the way to crucifixion was then cursed to walk the earth until the second coming. So this story goes into this mystical, immortal man about Jesus. Read on that. But you're going to further find that not only this story exists, but also for those who say they were wanderers that were going into these various countries. But let's get back to the ship. The Igbo people, I interviewed the king there, the Igbo people. I hope that y'all watched the video. You know, they have a celebration every year in Georgia. If you want to call it a celebration, it's a memorial, rather. A memorial acknowledgement that the ship, some of the ships that brought the some of the Igbo people that they recognized came in off the ships. Instead of going into captivity and slavery, they would drown themselves. And the story goes that they even got articles on it. The story goes that there were those who drifted ashore and wound up settling there. But the most interesting thing that I showed you all was that the ship that brought them in, the ship that was illegally bringing in slaves when the law had already passed, there will be no more selling of slaves. Many of y'all don't know that around the 1807, 1810, 1815, the sale of slaveries ended with all countries, to include America. But that's the selling of slaves, not the ending of slavery. This particular ship would wander, but the people that they had on there was a specific people, Jews. And the ship was called the Wanderer. That wandering ship would go on the radar, and they would bring in these bringing in slaves, illegally selling them into Central America and also in America. And it's quite interesting that this memo that I showed y'all of hearing Kissinger and sending a memorandum. Let me share my screen again for those who just came in. This is back in now I done lost. Okay, where we go? Okay, there we go. Right here, that we see that it says here. Make sure y'all can see this. Yeah, that it says right here specifically. The Igbos are the wandering Jews of West Africa, gifted, aggressive, westernized, at best envy and resented, but mostly despised by the mass of their neighbors in the Federation. They have fought well by African standards against heavy odds. And the reason why I say heavy odds, you're talking about an African people who had little weaponry that many of the Western worlds were giving Nigeria's government weaponry to fight the Igbos. They wanted to slaughter these Jews. And yet the Igbo people wanted their own nation, their own state. They wanted their own governing body. And here, why would they say the wandering Jews? Because, as the Igbo stated, I'm going to get back to the video, that they know who they are. Now, let me get back to this video. All right. This is more the piece of the puzzle. That's going to make things clearer. It's going to let you know. Not going against those who say they're native to America. So be it. I'm too old to be arguing, tongue wrestling over some issues. If you know who you are, who am I to say who you ain't? I know who I am. But let's continue this conversation of this rabbi who went in to try to find out who they are. So let's go to the video. All righty. The video. Let me share my screen. Okay, let me go to, because I got my notes here. 12:38. Okay, let me mute myself.
Their identity because
Contact with their God, with their maker, with their origin.
okay, how do we know? We were this week, Abraham. We were in the place called Ibugad, Obugad, the place, the palace of God.
Yes.
So some things there. How do we know? If you are to tell me succinctly, how do we know? Do you believe that you are ancestors from the tribe of God?
Of course, we believe that we are ancestors of the tribe of Rabbi. Let me make it more clearer. Just like you are right.
Let me pause real quick so that you understand. And you know, the closed caption showing the words don't actually match up with some of the words they're saying, because it's trying to, you know, put into English and all that right there. But he said the tribe of Gad. Okay. Of course, the Igbo people have their connection, saying for thousands of years they've been part of the tribe of Gad. Gad is one of the 12 sons of Israel. Okay, so that y'all understand that. The closed caption said the child of God. No, it's the child of Gad, or the tribe, excuse me, of Gad. So let's get into that.
Said before that even after the dispersion of the children of Israel, that the 10 tribes, that there were other tribes that deflated to Judah.
That's right.
And that is to say,
a portion,
is a mixture of other tribes.
That's right.
Good. Now, when you come to this very part of the world that where the Igbos do exist, yes, we are called the tribe of Gad, because the first person to enter here among all the tribes is God himself. But we have other tribes scattered all over the place.
That's
we
right.
have the tribe of Judah, we have the tribe, so many
The tribe
tribes
of
like
Dan,
that,
it's-
and Levi in this very place.
Right.
Now, so but the all put together, like we have already said,
Let me-
tribe is God Himself. But we have other tribes scattered all
That's
over the
right.
place.
That's
we
right.
have the tribe of Judah, we have the tribe, so many
The
tribes
tribe of
like
Dan,
that,
it's-
and Levi.
Let me pause right there, because what he had just mentioned, what we have is the tribe of Judah, which many of us who was shipped to America were part of the tribe of Judah. How do we know that? It's because you have on the maps, and I'm going to show you all, that the tribe of Judah specifically was in the area of what is known as Guinea, Ghana, that region, all right? This was where they had on the maps the kingdom of Judah. Now, I already know, because I've been to Zimbabwe, I was in South Africa, Zambia, I've been to 34 African countries. I've had opportunities to speak to the Limba tribe, because he just mentioned, he said that we have the tribes that are scattered here are the tribe of Judah, the tribe of Levi. The Limba tribe says that they come from the tribe of Levi. And I'm going to show you the map of where it shows the Levite, the tribe of Judah, their sites. This is European maps back in the 1700s. Somebody should be getting excited if you haven't heard this information. I just shared it with a sister right here from Zambia. And when I showed her the map, she flipped over and she said, my whole mission that I had planned is stopping. That right there, what you just showed me, I'm going down. I'm going to go. She said, do you know what you just did to me? And then she sent me a message that night, excited, because it changed the game, because her tribe in Zambia is affiliated within the Niger-Congo language-speaking people, affiliated or connected to the children of Israel. So she got excited. So that's why I'm saying you have to understand that nobody is trying to force us and put our identity into the Bible or forcing to make ourselves. No, this is something that was documented, that was mapped out, that you have even the witnesses of the Europeans, explorers and enslavers, and these slave ship diaries and all that, that the Africans, these people who have a history of knowing who they are telling you, this is our history. And then I'm going to get to, what does it all mean? Because knowing this, who you are, doesn't stop there. It doesn't stop at all. So let's get into him finishing up, telling this guy about these tribes. I'm going to back it up a little bit.
How do we know? Do you believe that you are ancestors from the tribe of God?
Of course, we believe that we are ancestors of the tribe of Rabbi. Let me make it more clearer. Just like you rightly said before, that even after the dispersion of the children of Israel, that the 10 tribes, that there were other tribes that deflated to Judah.
That's right.
And that is to say,
A portion.
Judah is a mixture of other tribes.
That's right.
Good. Now, when you come to this very part of the world where the Igbos exist, yes, we are called the tribe of God, because the first person to enter here among all the tribes is God Himself. But we have other tribes scattered all over the place. We have the tribe of Judah, we have the tribe, so many tribes
tribe of
like
Dan,
and Levi in this very place.
Right.
Now, so but all put together, like we have already said most of the time, that inside every Jew is the 12 tribe.
Absolutely.
So we are made up of all the tribe of Israel here in Nigeria.
I understand that,
Yeah.
but there's some uniqueness here that we cannot ignore with the tribe of God.
Yes,
There is some uniqueness.
Yes.
So everything that you know is passed orally.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Everything
that's how it is the oral tradition, storytelling. That is the way our ancestors passed information to us in the olden days. Because you see, actually, when we came down to this very place, because we were surrounded by so many enemies, so our ancestors began to make code. In some of the knowledge that they have, they coded it in form of story, first stories, They put stories that are talking about the tortoise, talking about the bird, using animals to make representation in order to code it so that our neighbors will not be able to really understand who we are, but our own people understand, because it is like a code.
Can you give me an example of a code?
Yes.
Give me an example of a code like that.
Like a code.
That say who they really are, but so that they will not able to understand.
Yeah.
Give me
So
an
now
example.
when you give the true story of the tortoise, the Igbo man is depicted like a tortoise.
Okay.
The tortoise is in Igbo land is known as a very wise and cunning animal. And because of this, they tell our children the stories of how the tortoise do this, how the tortoise do the other one, showing or trying to depict the fact that the Igbo race came from a very wise people.
Okay.
All right. Now, when we come down, in every garden that we do, because when we left, we still had in great quantity the customs, the traditions that were handed over to us way back from our fathers. So when we gather like this, our people will say, Igbo, when? The response will be Ya. And Ya is the short form of Yode Vowel. So these has already all the time been with their people. We didn't learn it from anybody.
Let's take a tradition.
Correct.
Let's look at something like this: circumcision.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so he was just giving description. No one's just sharing their history, because there's one thing that is a must in African traditions, if you will. When I say Africa, pointing towards the continent, oral traditions must be passed down. It's a must that your elders pass down the history from next generation to next generation to next generation. I saw a video of a sister who was stating her claim that she was native. She was a Native American or native to America. And she said, my grandmother never told us we were Africans. So it's like, okay, well, the way things were, where, you could be, caught in slavery. And she didn't tell you was native either, but you could, just because your grandmama didn't tell you that, maybe she was never told that either. Because when you are in slavery for 400 years, just like you lose your way, you lose some of your oral traditions when you are a child is born and taken out of the womb. Once coming out of the womb of the mother, is sold to a slave master, shipped over to another plantation. Most didn't even know their mamas or daddies. Most didn't know. Many slaves didn't come from just same region area. They came from different areas speaking different languages for the most part. But the interesting thing that most of them understood, because they had the dialect of Igbo or Hebrew. That was one of the most interesting things that they wonder. If these Africans came from different tribes, how could they talk to each other with different languages? Well, the key thing was they spoke Hebrew. And though it was broken up, they still could understand each other to a certain degree. This is why you could meet an African and they tell you, man, they picked up different words. They can pick up other words from other tribes, because they know that, of course, when you are, close in network with different tribes and you trade, whatever, that they've picked up your words and then you picked up some of their words, but you're able to do such a thing. So here it is that they're showing just their oral history, that sometimes we will be like, but in actuality, these are facts. Because even this guy is like, there's no way that these people here in Nigeria ever came across them that are up there in the north, who practice Judaism, who got the story, who took the story and built off of it and created their nation of people. Find it interesting that these people are practicing, or not practicing, but living out what those people in Israel are doing. Of course, he wants to turn around and say that the Africans are doing what they do, which is far from the truth. Now, let me go to the map before I forget. Let me show y'all. Let me go ahead and do this. Okay. What we have here, many of y'all may have seen this, but I want to just break down. Okay, that's not what I want. Let me bring you all over here. Let me stop sharing this. This is, put this in y'all's library. Okay. What we have here is just one map, right? I don't like that map because it's not clear enough. This is their maps, but you have to understand, why is it they would say that this is Negro land? The one thing you guys got to understand is that the Niger River will run all the way over and run itself down into Nigeria. And this region along the Nile, because of course, if we're talking about these people over thousands of years who've migrated into towards South and West Africa, you find these places along the way where they have villages or what have you. Like you see these up here in the Sahara, you see these little like tents or huts. These are communities. But you have here in this region, what you're going to find that is Negro land. Now, let me go to this other map so that you can see something interesting. Here you're going to see on part of that map, you have here on that map, you're going to see the Gold Coast, right? But also here in the red, you're going to see the Kingdom of Judah, or the Slave Coast. This is the area of where that kingdom of the Kingdom of Judah was at. Okay, the tribes of what they would say would be some portions of the Jews, because this whole port, this area extended all the way down to what we call Angola, where they had different ports. And you must keep in mind that not each of these maps are different maps from different countries. Whether you had the Portuguese map, whether you had the Spanish map, whether you had the Britain map, they would depict, according to their exploration, these areas that they found Jewish practices and people who were separated from African tribes, noting these are different people. Now, let me get into this map right here. Let's see, 7. What is that dude's name? Let me get you into this map here. Some of y'all might have seen it. I'm gonna tell you, I think I was looking for this map the other day. It was so hard to find. And hold on a second. I think I took a picture of it, because I believe, man, they're gonna try to get rid of all this stuff here in days to come. They're gonna try to, just do away with these, because the evidence is mounting. And let me do this right here. Y'all bear with me. Bear with me. There we go. All right. This is a good copy. Okay. So let me share this with you all. Share this video. All right. Now, this map right here of Africa, right? You're going to see, number one, it says Yemen Jews and Falashas, Berbers, Moors, and Negro Jews. Okay. Over here, it has the Jewish kingdom of Granada. Now, on this over here in the area of the Dahomey, the Guinea that we would know today, Ghana, you're going to find right here. Let me see if I can bring this up bigger. This is the largest I can make it. These arrows are showing Jewish traces, Dahomey Jews, Bani Ephraim, which means the son of Ephraim, Levite cities. Levite cities. You got over here the Tabibas Jews. You have Jewish traces over here on East Africa. You have the Yemen Jews. The Yemen Jews, we have the Limbus who even said they came out of Yemen, migrating into Africa. Okay. We have up here, Lam, once a Jewish colony right here in Africa. Up here it says Jewish kingdom of Granada. See note at the end of the sheet. We have down here in the Angola, Gabon area, down here it has the Mavumbu Jews. Down here it has Luanda Jews. You have Jews all through, scattered through. You have right here, Hebrew. You have the word Hebrew. You got the Alidos Jews. This is up in the Arab area. You have the traditions of Jewish garrison. Now, let me share this with you all. You know, the Arabs have came and pushed out Africans further south beneath Sahara slave trade, even though there's still Africans up there. I'm going to say Africans, but yeah, Africans and those that were there. I've been there. I was visited. If you watch my videos when I was in Morocco, I talked to them, whether it's Egypt, all that. These people will tell you who they are. So we see here, let me bring this down a little bit. It says, the names in red in the northern Sahara are cases in which some Berber Judaism survived. It is estimated about 15,000 Jews are scattered through the interior. There goes that word, y'all, interior. Other names in red are places of ancient Jewish colonies. In some cases, an approximate date of settlement is added. Now, this right here, we have to keep in mind that how is that? You know, they said interior. This is why every time I hear the stories of the slave traders, whether it was the Arabs or whether it was the Europeans, it is amazing. When I was in Tanzania, I went through the slave trade, the slave dungeon that the market they have. They said that the Arabs came in and went to the interior to get those people. Now, I don't want to say African because these are Israelites. Why? It's because it is a prophecy that was already written. The interior is what the Europeans focused on. I tell people this right here. You know, when I say that Africa, we already know Africans sold, you know, those who were there in the vicinity, in the interior. The Europeans they couldn't just go in and you can't just come to a coast and you're going to fight and you are going to battle against the Africans. But there was a trade before it became the human slave trade. It was just goods. Europeans and all them would come in and trade with Africans, goods, gold, all these things they would trade until Pope Nicholas V decided these people are infidel. These people are savages. They're infidels. They are nothing to do with what being a Christian or whatever it is, a Catholic is. Go cleanse these people and make them Catholics. And that's what the Portuguese did. In doing so, we know that in their coming in, they knew already the Africans, but yet they knew that before that happened, the Portuguese and the Spaniards kicked out the black Jews, put them in Sao Tome, which the island I've been to, Cape Verde, which the island I've been to. I got to go back there because I got to find more information. I didn't find much information. Don't speak the language of Portuguese. But the history shows, even the map that I showed y'all, I don't think I even showed y'all that. It has on there, yeah, let me go back here. Let me show y'all. It has Sao Tome Jews because of the Inquisition that the Catholics kicked out the black Jews. And hold on, let me get this map real quick. Here we go. All right. I hope y'all see this. Let me go back here because I don't want y'all thinking I'm just telling you a story. Here we go. Right here. San Tome Jews, right there. Let me see if I can enlarge that. So you had along this coast of where the Portuguese kicked out kicked out the Jews because first there was many that was in Spain. They migrated over to Portugal. The Catholics they put pressures on the Portuguese that they need to go ahead and make sure that their citizens were going towards becoming Catholics and not being having other things that they believed in of religions and stuff like that. They wanted to make them Catholics. But they specifically showed that the black Portuguese, they were moving out, kicking them out because they gave you an ultimatum. You either convert or you either die or we send you away. And they sent hundreds of the children to the island of Sao Tome and Cape Verde. And then as many of the black Jews were escaping, many of them were taken off as slaves to be sent to Cape Verde because all of a sudden they said, we're going to put these people to work. They discovered these islands and they said, we can put these people to work. They became sugar plantations out there and they became slaves. When that kicked off, that is when then they decided they want to go and get more free labor. But when you see along the coast of these traces of Jews along the coastal lines, this was of when the Portuguese banded them and put them out here. Little did they know the interior in the Congo area was a mess load of those who migrated in or migrated from the shores or from the east of Africa into the central, because African tribes dominated the coast. Because of course you want to be by water, you can go, you can fish and have a livelihood right there on the coast. Okay, now let's get back to the video, y'all, because the rabbi there from Israel who went to go visit the Igbo people, trying to verify, maybe to refute or rebuke, I don't know his intention, but I do know he wants them to believe that they are just a copycat of them. because he asked some questions. So let's get into it. So let's go back to the video. Let's go back to the video. Okay, let me go because he's going to hit on something about DNA now. Y'all, please go back and watch this video. 4451.
Because the British people were involved in the war. Yeah, what do you call it? Even the Russians. Americans were there. But we were able to withstand them for 30 good months. You could imagine that.
So here's my question to you.
Go ahead.
Recently, they did a DNA
Hold up,
testing.
let me go back a little bit.
Not at all.
We cannot say it. Can we say that they're exactly the tribe of God? Maybe. There's strong connection to the tribe of God here.
Yes.
We know that. I was with you, and you showed me the statue of the man with the knife and the sword.
Yes.
And the word God exactly mean that. The
Yes.
people of the knife and the
yes,
sword.
yes.
The word God also comes from the word Gdud, which means the fighting crew.
Yes.
And that's really what the tribe of God and the Igbo are
It
known
means
for.
warriors.
They're fighters.
Yes.
Okay.
The warriors.
So this is historically validating those
Of course,
things.
it is very evident in the 2.5 year war that we fought. The war that we fought here was not only with the federal troops, we even fought with almost with the whole world because the British people were involved in the war. Yeah, what do you call it? Even the Russians. Americans were there. But we were able to withstand them for 30 good months.
Now, what he just said, y'all, was he talked about the Biafra War, what I just shared earlier in the video. They were able to withstand the Americans, the British, because in the memorandum that I showed y'all, let me go back here because some of y'all coming in a little later, but it's adding bits and pieces to the puzzle. Okay, substantiating these people in fact know their history, but because they are Jews and being persecuted in Nigeria, the Nigerian government fought against them because, hey, you know, these aren't our people, and they wanted to the Igbos wanted to separate themselves and have their own nation. But this is what they said, because he said they're the child of the tribe of Gad, means warriors, fighters. Now listen to this memo that Henry Kissinger was sending to the president. He said the Igbos are the wandering Jews of West Africa. So he substantiates their Jews already off the bat. This letter was back in 1969. Tuesday, January 28th, 1969. Listen to this. This is coming from the Secretary of State. Or what was he? What was Kissinger? Kissinger was let me go back here. It says, this is what he said. The Igbos are the wandering Jews of West Africa, gifted, aggressive, westernized. Westernized means more of that they are they had built in their system some things that are accommodating to what the West will recognize as being like them. They also, he said also, at best envied and resented, because the Nigerians resented them and envied them, because everywhere I go, when you mention about Igbo people, even the Nigerians will tell you, these people are very smart people, very crafty people as far as and witty and smart. But this is what Henry Kissinger said, but mostly despised by the masses of their neighbors in the Federation. They have fought well by African standards. You know, you can only fight well, you know, you fight great, but if you ain't got the machinery, the weaponry that you're going up against big nations like America and Britain, like the guy said in the video, how long do you last? Because the guy said 30 months in the video, but he says they have fought well against heavy odds. Their cynical public relations use of the starvations have been brilliant. You know, they use the tactic in starvations of trying to cut food lines and keep the Nigerians from even fighting by keeping the transportation of food that was causing a starvation that would hopefully hit the sympathy of the world in order to keep to end this war. So let me go back to the video of what now we said, because he has substantiated what has been said. All right, let's go back to the video.
And the Igbo are known for.
Yes.
They're fighters.
Yes.
Okay, so this is historically validating those
Of course,
things.
it is very evident in the 2.5 year war that we fought. The war that we fought here was not only with the federal troops, we even fought with almost with the whole world, because the British people were involved in the war. Yeah, what do you call it? Even the Russians, Americans were there. They were able to withstand them for 30 good months. You could imagine that.
So here's my question to you.
Go ahead.
Recently, they did a DNA testing in this country on some of the Igbo people.
Here we go.
Right.
The results came disappointing. Is that result make any impact on you, on your outlook and your connection with Israel? For you personally?
Now, President, I was part of the people who took part in that test.
Okay.
I didn't even have all the details. But for all we know, that every Igbo man here knows that we are part of the lost 10 tribe of Israel. DNA test or no DNA test, we know that we are part of the lost 10 tribe of Israel. And besides, those of you out there in Israel, I know that as far back as 1919, there was nothing like Israel. You were scattered all over the world. I know how the scientist of Manchester University, Dr. Let me recall his name now, who invented an atom during the First World War. Right. Then, yes, and Theodor Herzl, a journalist who now started moving for the Zionist organization. So you were all over the world. Nobody was there. The place was a desolate place. But we are here. We know that we are Igbos. So now, and again, there are two things that qualify you as a Jew. You are either a Jew by birth or by faith. Because it is a historical fact that all the people who left to Egypt with Israel when they were leaving Egypt, all of them were not Jews. And there is no record that somewhere along the line that they were ostracized. No, they remain Jews. So the Igbo man is a Jew. By practice, by belief, everything we do here has this connection with Israel.
I tell you, I have difficulty with this statement because you lost the Torah. You lost the Torah. I have some difficulty with this.
Okay.
I can say you are part of the tribes of Israel, but to be a Jew, and this is what the government of Israel fighting with.
All right.
What to do, and not just about you, what to do about the Ethiopians, what to do about the Lemba people. What do you do about them? Some rabbis trying to push. There was an interesting thing that happened here in Nigeria. Rabbis came and they did an Orthodox conversion of the Igbo people. And when they went to Israel, they didn't recognize this conversion.
Yes.
So the question whether or not the Igbo people have to go through a conversion process is, to me, it's something you're not going to win. The state of Israel will say yes. You still have to go through a conversion. Me personally, I don't believe that. I think you are part of the household of Israel, but you still have to go through a process.
Let me pause there. I've said this before. If you don't know who you are, somebody else is going to tell you. And the frightening thing is that many of us rather for people to tell us, you're Black, African American, you are this or that, you're American. You look, I tell people, look, when I travel around, they say, oh, you're American. I'm not American. I'm not American. Just because they put a stamp on my back, our ancestors, our family members, and say that you are American, don't make me so. And when I'm talking about labeling me, I don't need to be labeled that because it limits me. It limits you. He wants to sit here and talk about the rabbi there on the video. He wants to sit there and try to who made you God that where you could dictate that y'all the ones who get to do DNA tests and make decisions who you're going to let in or we're going to convert you. This is the ignorance that many of our people just fall into the traps. We will rather let somebody tell us who we are instead of knowing, or at least doing research to find out, number one, where did I come from? Because really, it all don't mean shit. I'm just going to put it out there. When I got right with the Creator, my spirit changed. When I got right, that's who I became. My color of my skin had nothing to do with what that spirit that came to me in October the 7th of 1992 when I was about to commit suicide. That spirit that came in that room and fell upon me, I wasn't in no Bible. I wasn't in no church. I was a man in them streets. I did everything evil, wicked underneath the sun. I subscribe to the spirit. Yeah, we can argue Jesus was black all day long. Well, this is what scripture says all day long till we're blue in the face. Black. We can argue that all day long. Does it change a man's spirit? It's going to change how you operate or what have you. To some people, it do matter. And some people, it will give them a true understanding that there is a connection through a Bible that they read, that they always thought it was somebody else. Yes, that definitely can change a mindset. And it can also even change a behavior. But the behavior should be changed in a way of rightfulness. Now, let me get into this video because he wants to talk about conversion, because he wants to tell them you're not accepted. DNA did not approve of you. You know, the Israel did not accept the fact that you are all part of this and that. But here's the shocking thing that I'm going to show y'all when they're posed with this question, because this is where it's a hard pill for me to swallow when we get into what he's going to ask them. Let's get into this. All right, let me go to 5120.
Himself dug a pit under that bush, under that
Okay.
tree, and somebody will climb and cut the rope. He will fall into the pit, and they will close the pit and return.
You know what you are? You're an ancient Israelite.
Ancient Israel, that's what we are. That's who we are. So if you give me time, if you give me time,
But
all that he said,
no, we don't have.
so many years.
I know. Look at this. This is pages and pages of notes. And I promise we'll give more teaching. But here is my challenge to you.
All right.
I'm hearing some of your traditions. It's like the days of the Bible.
Yes.
Do you want to remain ancient Israelites, or you want to be Jews? That is the question I have for you.
Thank you. I'll answer that question.
Go ahead. I will help you.
After the demise of Solomon, we now have the northern and southern kingdom of Israel.
Yes.
So when we talk about Jews are Israelites, but all Israelites are not Jews. The 10 tribes that got lost are not Jews. They were Israelites.
Well, it's depending.
So minority cannot swallow the majority. We are here. We are the majority down here. So you are minority, and we are older than you.
All right, Rabbi. That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
You know, I like what he said. You know, he said, we're the majority, you're the minority, we're older than you. Let's continue, though. Let's continue, because it turns a different way. It turns a different way.
I'm not sure we will agree with this, because the minority, remember, the minority was Joshua and Caleb, and they swallowed the 10 in the faithfulness. Hallelujah.
Yes. Yes, it's coming from another planet.
Hallelujah.
Let me tell you. What do you call it? My Rabbi. Listen. You see, just like he had said, the scattering of the 10 tribes, the Holy One of Israel promised that he is going to return them when they are the fullness of time. We are, what do you call it, grateful to the Most High for Judah, who has kept, the flag flying for us. And they are the reason why we are being found today. I hope you understand what we're saying.
I understand very clear.
So I want our fellow Jews all over the world, both in land and in Israel and in diaspora, to know, accept the fact that we are of the same stock with them. No matter how ancient we are ready to join with our kings and kids in Israel to become one with them. So, what do you call it? We may come with some ancient traditions, and these ancient traditions will.
Okay, let me get to this one part. My battery's going dead, but let me get to this last comment that he makes, that he asked them, and then I gotta end this.
Number 2.
Yes.
If the state of Israel opened the doors,
Yes.
how many of you would be willing
to come over to here and help us? So that is what we are calling for.
Okay, so my question now, hypothetical question number 2.
Yes.
If the state of Israel opened the doors,
Yes.
how many of you would be willing to leave Nigeria?
If you open the door, if Israel open the door today, before 6 hours, there will be no space in Israel.
Really?
I tell you, if Israel open the door for the lost tribe that is found here in Nigeria alone, I'm not talking of Africa. In the next 6 hours, I tell you, no space will be found in the land of Israel.
What about Farah? Will he come?
Farah, he will.
And with that, you see where the ignorance is. All of that talk about knowing who they are. I've said this before, and when I go back to Africa, I'm gonna start asking this question. Before I get to the question. But all of what they said, all of them raised their hand, even though they know who they are. They would rather go to Israel. Now, I know that because they will tell you that the Nigerians don't treat them well. The Nigerian government don't treat them well. They will tell you that it's not fair there, and that they wish they had a better situation that they would be in because they're being persecuted. This right here should open your eyes to see that not all are alike there in Africa. There are this mistreatments of those who are claiming to be the children of Israel versus those African tribes that are around. And so, yet they say that, but they would rather go, and any African you ask, whether they want to go to America, whether they want to go to Europe or whatever, you're going to get 99% of the people raise their hand and say, yeah. But in that family, I'm saying that if you don't know who you are, somebody else will tell you. But it is amazing to see that our brothers who know their history and know who they are, rich in their history, knowing that it comes a time for you, to stand on that truth and not let anybody come in and try to convert you, not try to sway you, not try to tell you who you truly are. As far as my take and my stand, we are spiritual beings beyond in this flesh, that the few have gotten us trapped into our flesh to believe we're in this flesh, to keep us thinking that we're in this flesh, and it has limited us, it has stunted us, it has kept us from a higher growth. And thankfully, I was able to come out of that when I was 40 years old. And my life continued to grow prosperously as I begin to grow spiritually. We can argue about, was Jesus black, was Jesus white? We can argue all that all day long. It has, when it comes to worshiping the Most High, you got to go in spirit. When you out here walking this earth, you got to operate in the spirit. When it comes time for you to take your last breath, and the day you get your call for judgment, your spirit will be judged. Skin ain't going to have nothing to do with it. Though I say our skin is the signpost, the pointer of showing where everything of humanity had originated from in the continent of what they call today Africa. Continue to watch my videos, y'all, and go ahead and hit the subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. You know, YouTube has killed a lot of our people who's putting information out, unsubscribing. People got to go back and do all that right there. Go through some of my videos to educate yourself and share with the youth this truth. Because yes, though that it may seem insignificant in some of our eyes, that whether or not you think or you are Israelite or not, when the religion has indoctrinated many people to believe that these people that are spoken in there is others, now we see it is us. Peace and blessings to each and every one of you all. This is your man, not your boy. Go Black to Africa. Watch my videos too while I'm here in Brazil. Watch the last video that I put up. You're going to find some things about the color here in Brazil, as they would call color is sin. I'm out.